Hey everybody, Eric here with Spartan Auto Works. Today we're going to talk about some Kia stuff. So, New Year's Eve, I got a phone call from one of my friends who ironically works at a Chevy dealership driving a 2015 or 2016 Kia Hybrid. Anyway, she had called me about the car earlier, a couple weeks earlier, asked me to look at it as she was getting weird messages like service brake system and stuff like that in the car. And she had the guys at work look at it, and they said they don't know anything about Kias and hybrids, and they didn't know what to tell her. So I was going to look at it, but she never brought it to me, so I never got a chance to do anything with it. Well, of course, New Year's Eve, car breaks down, completely loses power, won't start, won't do anything. So I meet her on the side of the road while she's waiting for the tow truck. I read the codes, and I had a P1B25 and a P1B77. I also had some other codes mainly relating to low voltage. So what I did is I cleared all the codes and then cycled the ignition, read the codes again, and the first code that popped up was P1B25. So I started doing a search for the P1B25 code and came up with this bulletin here that talks about the disconnect fuse in the back, or the safety disconnect plug fuse. So after the car sat there for a few minutes, it also threw the P1B77 code. Now, when I was asking her questions, supposedly the hybrid system was throwing one code at the time that she had it read at her job, but she didn't know the code, but it was throwing one hybrid code. So finding this TSB here, it talks about this fuse in the disconnect, and obviously the disconnect is in the back. If you go to the back of the trunk, especially in the Optima, it's in, a real easy spot to get. It's got a little like trap door. You can easily pop open the trap door and pull the disconnect. So when I found this, I went back to it, popped the disconnect, and I was able to pop the cover out. There's like a cover in the back of this, and I was inspecting the fuse, but nothing appeared to be blown. This is the fuse from that car. Nothing appears to be, blown. So anyway, there is a test procedure for this. If you go through, you check the ohm resistance, tapping on this fuse, and you're supposed to check for the proper ohm reading. But the real fix is to upgrade this fuse right here. Whoops. To upgrade this fuse right here to 150 amp fuse. So in the information here, it does give you the part number right here. So if the measured resistance is not within specification, or the P1B25 DCC is intermittent, which I'm going to say was probably her original concern, replace the 125 amp battery fuse with a newer 150 amp battery fuse. And here's the part number. So part number is 375F2. So Frank 2 4 Romeo 150. Now that fuse is going to look identical to this, except it's going to be black and say 150. So it is a little distinguished a little bit differently, but same style fuse, same size, everything. So for the particular instance of sitting on the side of the road, in order to get her back up and running temporarily, what I did is I went and bought a 150 amp mega fuse from O'Reilly's. You will have to cut the it's not long enough to go in there and bolt in correctly, so you have to kind of cut the ends open and then cut the sides down so it fits in there perfectly, and then you'll bolt that back into the safety disconnect plug, and then you can put the cover back on, then plug this back in, and it will get it going down the road temporarily. Now, of course, I went ahead and ordered one of these fuses, and now, of course, somebody that drives this car isn't worried about it because the car's working, so why replace it? Now, I'm not an expert on fuses and how they're made and what exactly is their blow points and all that stuff like that, but I do know that obviously some major engineering has gone behind the engineering of the fuse for this particular application, so you'd want to replace it with a correct fuse, not just a generic mega fuse, especially one that you have to modify and cut to allow it to transfer the voltage. just, the integrity of the fuse is no longer there. Good way to get it running and driving to save yourself a tow and maybe get you to work for a couple days, like how this particular situation was supposed to work out. But I would definitely replace the fuse with the correct fuse. So again, if you drive a Kia or Hyundai Hybrid and you have this 125 amp fuse and the car either won't start or won't power on, like the 12 volt battery works, but literally the car won't start, car won't do anything. And on the dash will throw all kinds of, service me, take me to the dealer, all kinds of that stuff. It's probably a blown fuse. And like I said, you could check that with a voltometer per this TSB, and we'll give you some information there. It looks like it's going to be if you search for PS515, should get you to this particular TSB. And again, here is the part for the correct fuse, the 150 amp fuse. It replaces this 125 amp PEC fuse. I believe the new one is a PEC part as well. But the part number is 375 Frank 2 4 Romeo 150. So if you're working on a hybrid and you're stranded someplace, the 150 amp mega fuse from O'Reilly's or any parts store will get you going down the road, but you definitely need to be replacing it with the correct fuse of 375 Frank 2 4 Romeo 150. Thanks, everybody. Have a great and happy New Year.